those of you who don't know, this is Joe Rudi. He is an avid DXer, a big gun DXer. He now lives in Florida. He did live over in Oregon near me, and this guy knows how to build antennas. Last I saw him, I think he was climbing the tower close to the 200-foot level. And I was on the ground. I was just on the ground being safe. Anyway, I was part of his ground crew, so to speak. Okay, well, let's start out, if you don't mind. Tell us about your station and what you're doing with DX right now.
Well, actually, right now we, I had the station there from the late 70s, probably started building about 1977. We got up to, I think, about 10 towers there on the ranch. And then they have since moved 3 or 4 times the station around. And we ended up retiring when I turned 65. We bought a motorhome, started traveling full time. So we ended up remoting into the station. A lot of the guys that operated there, we had about 10 or 12 guys that were pretty regular operators at the contest station. And we, it's really become very easy to remote your stations nowadays. And so we were able to completely control the station from rotating antennas to changing, we had 4 high stacks of the mono banders going to Europe and J on 10, 15, 20, and then a couple different stacks on 40, the 80-meter beam and all that stuff. And we could rotate everything, switch antennas, control the audio. It's just amazing what they've come up with now. We were using the L-Craft K3 series, and they have a thing called a Mini that is a exact replica of the front of it, all the controls and everything, but it's only about 2 inches thick, and it's just a computer connected to a real K3 back at the station. And they got a new sort of, I guess you call it a business. I'm not sure how that clears the FCC, but the remote ham radio, you can actually, log into some of their stations all over the world and use their stations. But it just worked for us because, we wanted to travel and do all that stuff, and being able to remote back in and still run a full bore contest. We had 3 full-time stations remoted. And so it just gave everybody, and of course with the COVID thing now, it's been great because everybody can still operate from their own homes.
Is the thrill still there, or when you're remoting, as it was when you were on site?
I still get excited just turning the radio on. I have down here in Florida, my local place here, I just have a little flagpole, 24-foot flagpole antenna. Hooked up to a K3 and a little 1K expert amp, put down about 300 or 400 watts. I don't want to light up the neighborhood. And, I still get excited just turning the radio on and seeing what I can hear. I love still, after almost 50 years of being a ham, I still love it, even though I don't have the big antennas down here. I can still remote back into them for the contest. We're still getting on all the contests. We'll be on this weekend. And I don't use my call much anymore. We have a sort of a club call, Kilowatt Tango 7 Echo is the call, an old friend over there in the Portland area. And so we'll be on this weekend with that call. And we just did the CW version here a while back. It's my main love. I get on pretty much weekly on the CWTs. That's a Morse code training type thing they have nowadays for helping operators learn Morse code and get more proficient in operating. So I don't know if we have any CW operators in here or not, but it's a great mode. I see Rhea does it in 2RJ. I know that call. And Ed, I see you with your thumb up. And then Virginia, I see.
Rhea is everywhere.
Yeah, sorry about the label there. Now it says Joe NK7U. A minute ago it said this is my son's iPad, by the way. I don't have any other way to connect to get on here. I wasn't sure how to make this work.
Well, we took care of it for you, so we know who you are. Well, it's coming across good. So you're primarily DXing with CW. You don't do much signal sideband anymore, or anything like that?
No, I still get on sideband. My CW is my favorite mode. It's just a much more relaxing, less the sideband gives me a headache. In a 48-hour contest, it just beats on your ears after a while, and I don't know. You just you can get 4 QSOs going per KC. I mean, it's a whole difference of how many operators you can get into a CW contest versus sideband, and it's to me, it's just more relaxing. Rudi is sort of fun to do contesting. It's great during football season because you watch football, eat pizza, and operate Rudi at the same time, and have a good time. But
we know you're in the sports.
Huh?
We know you're in the sports.
Oh yeah, it's 24/7 here. My poor wife of 55 years has put up first with being a baseball widow, and then when I first retired from baseball, I was climbing towers every day and putting up station. And she said she couldn't go out and look up there at 200 feet and see me hanging antennas, so she just stayed in the house and didn't watch.
I can understand.
She's got her ham called. She used to be our midnight ringer. We'd bring her in about 2 in the morning and have her call CQ on 40 meters into Europe. They always like talking to women for some reason.
I wonder why. Well, okay. Now, when you were over in Baker there, you had I don't know what you want to call it, but you had a room there set up with a lot of different equipment for running contests there, from everybody from Boise to Pocatello, not Pocatello, but Portland, you name it, showed up there to operate from your place. Do you still have anything like that?
I actually have moved everything over to Portland. I have a buddy over there. We moved the whole station except for some of the antennas. We don't have all the big antennas, but we moved all the remote equipment, all the amps, all that stuff. Some antennas, we put up a few more stacks over there. And so now I have everything operating out of Hillsboro, Oregon, actually. And so we sold the ranch. It was just too much to try to keep up and not be there. And when the kids all graduated and went off to college, Dad was left alone moving all the sprinkler pipes. So it was time to move on.
Did you dig up all that coax? I mean, you had giant coax.
Yeah, no, we had, we were fortunate over the years to accumulate a lot of stuff way back in the 70s where it was pretty cheap, and had some good friends that helped me get a lot of that stuff. And we just, Mike K6MYC down at, used to own KLM and then M Squared, is an old friend. And he had a lot of contacts down there that could come up with that 1 5/8" heliacs and you name it. I'd call him up and say, hey, we need this or that. And he'd call me back a week later and say, hey, I found somebody out here who wants to sell 500 feet or 1,000 feet of it. And we'd drive down there, pick it up and bring it back.
I remember you worked with those towers and working with all the stuff on the ground before they ever went up the air. You kept you pretty busy.
Well, it was, to me, contesting was all like my baseball season. I mean, your season was, baseball was a reflection of how hard you worked in the off season and prepared and, kept yourself in good shape and did extra hitting and all that stuff. And contesting, you spent the summer, rebuilding the station. If you weren't adding or making it better, you were falling behind. And so we spent all summer redoing the antennas or fixing whatever we felt wasn't correct. And, critters are always chewing up control lines and coax and all that kind of stuff. So you always working trying to get that stuff fixed up. And so to me, like I said, we worked really hard all summer getting that ready. And then of course up in Baker, it was very cold, 20, 30 below in the wintertime. So we didn't do a whole lot of climbing, although I did do a few of those when I had to go fix something. And it was always fun coming off there a little frosty.
You have to understand, folks, this guy had one heck of a farm. One day I was over there helping him. I don't know how much help I was, but I was over there, and one of his helping hands were there, and he was on the tower, and here's all these towers. I mean, this guy's got antennas. So I says, how far does this property go? He says, well, you can't see the end of it from here, but if you hop in the Jeep, I'll take you over there. So he had space for antennas.
Yeah, the thing I missed the most from that ranch was all the beverages. We had about a dozen beverages going out from anywhere from 500 feet to 1,500 feet in the spoke. And you could hear a pin drop. So that was a great, quiet place. I sure miss having that place.
Well, it was certainly a pleasure for me to go there, and I appreciated you welcoming me there. And he just, one day he was working on his antenna, and he asked me to give a check. So I ran in, I think it was on 20 meters, just running barefoot. I picked the mic up, used his call, give it a quick check, and some guy, I think over in Europe, came back and says, "Holy cow, what are you running over there? You're blasting us out." And then we were barefoot. I think his antennas were working that day.
And we're pretty lucky. Yeah, Wayne used to come up for years and operate up there. We had a lot of fun and went to, oh my goodness, Visalia and Dayton, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, Wayne, back when you were the general manager for Kenwood.
Yeah, it's boy, it was a long time ago. Enjoyed quite a bit of contests. My problem back then, Joe, is I was busy with day job stuff, couldn't get up there to help you. And I really wanted to go up there and do more work on the antennas as part of a sweat equity, right, to enjoy some of that station, right?
Well, he used to bring some really good radios up that definitely improved the station. Those 950s were awfully good radios back in the day. Way ahead of the times.
Okay, before I go off subject at all here, anybody else got any questions for Joe?
There are a couple in the chat.
Okay.
What call sign do you use on CWT?
When I'm operating down here in Florida, I use my NK7U call. When I operate out in Florida, I use K7 Japan radio, which is the club call out there also. And so sometimes I'm on K7 Japan radio, and we've had that call we used to use it in Baker for the remote station there, and then we just transferred it over to Portland. But I'm on most of the time from my station here in Florida. Probably, it's just it's a great training tool, it really is.
Okay. What contesting logging software do you use?
N1MM Plus, yeah, been using that for years now. We started way back in the day. I was very fortunate when I first got going pretty heavy with contesting. I had a lot of guys coming out of Boise that were in the computer business. Dan, W7ZRC, Rod was computer city, and Scott was VP with Hewlett Packard, and Jim K7MK was a ROM developer with Micron, and then Jim KK7A. All those guys came over and just took over. They just showed up at the right time, because that was right when we were getting into, using CT and NA and getting everything computerized, going away from the, I still have all my old paper logs and checks. We had the big dupe sheet that was huge. You had to write down all the calls there, write them on the sheet, and you wonder why we were working so many more stations now. You had to do about 6 different things on every contact just to keep from working the dupes. So I was real blessed to have that great influx of operators that were really, computer experts, because I sure wasn't.
Do you have any pictures on the computer you have there that you're using of any of your stations?
I think there's some on here. I would have no idea how to get them here.
We can walk you through getting it on. That part is easy. If you can get it up. Can you bring up one of those pictures on your screen there, and we'll show you how to share your
I don't know what would happen if I got away from here.
All right, he's on an iPad, Dan. It'll be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, okay. Let's not do that then.
Okay, a couple of more questions. What are the contests you look forward to every year?
Mainly the CW contest, Secret Worldwide, and the ADLRLDX contest, those, but really all of them. There's so many contests on that if you want to operate, not quite every weekend, but they sure, they do have a lot of them. They, like I said, every Wednesday they got 3 different the CWTs, which are just 1 hour little mini tests that nobody even really ever.
That's fine.
Check. It's not really a contest. It's more of a thing just to help you improve your skills. So I think my all-time favorite, of course, CQ Worldwide, both phone and the phone and CW, both of those are great. And you get into I've always been a low band guy. I always loved 160, so I look forward to the ARRL and the CQ Worldwide 160 contests. Especially on CW, it's a pretty rough on the West Coast when you're trying to do it on on phone. It's just on contest that we were on this last week, or a week, well, I can't even remember, 1 week or 2 weeks ago, sideband, and couldn't even hear the East Coast from Portland. It was conditions were that shaky. But I have one picture here. I don't know, how do you do a picture? I can hold my thing up and point it at the computer. I have another computer over here with all kinds of pictures.
Well,
I wish I could get them up here, but
yeah, if it was on the same computer, or we could link over to it, we could show you how to share your desktop and share them.
Way past my pay grade.
Next time we do this, we're going to have some trial and error stuff beforehand, and because you got a lot of stuff to offer.
I should have told you I'd never been on Zoom before, so it's
Okay.
another world.
Dan, I hear my name.
Dan, I have some pictures I can put up on the screen if Joe would like to comment on them.
Okay, yes, please do.
Well, let's finish the questions in the
Yeah,
chat.
go ahead and finish up first.
How fast of a connection do you need for remote contesting? Is latency an issue?
What was the question about the internet speed?
Yeah, do you need a fast internet speed to do a remote connection?
Yeah, the faster the better. We were a little bit challenged out in Oregon there at the end there. We actually had to go over the air, and we found that a minimum of 5 down and 2 up was pretty much a minimum. You almost have to have 2 up to get any kind of smooth audio going. So you didn't have any latency in there. But most of, like anybody that lives anywhere close to the cities that have a decent internet, it works fine.
Okay. I think this one is going to be a good question. I think you'll get a chuckle out of it. Which baseball pitcher made you bang the straight tee the hardest?
Who threw the hardest?
Bang your straight tee the hardest.
Well, I always hated facing Nolan Ryan. That was the scariest guy, because he wasn't sure where the ball was going, and I never saw anybody since or back then that ever threw anywhere near as hard as Nolan does. They put this stuff up today with different computers and everything else, but Nolan Ryan by and far was the fastest guy I ever saw. He was still throwing 95 when he was 45 years old. And
what was your
amazing.
speed? What was your
My
top speed? Yeah, your top speed.
My top speed was 270 feet away from the hitter, way out there in left field.
Okay.
They wanted me to play third base, and I told them, hey, that's too close to the hitter. I like it back out there where I can run it down, chase down the pitcher's mistakes.
Well, hey, Babe Ruth did a pretty good job out there.
Yeah, it's good to be far away from the hitter. Yeah.
Anthony, are you ready to go?
Here we go.
What do we got? Oh my gosh. Who got these pictures?
Wilbur Ham's on here.
Oh my goodness. He must be on my website.
This is from the Yankee Foxtrot Alpha Romeo site. And there's some photos of Joe's antennas out in Oregon here.
Holy cow. Well, let's see. I see the 80-meter dipole. We had 2 towers. On one tower, it was we had the 380-meter beam.
Dexter.
What's that? Did we lose you?
Oh,
No, that was someone else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that was a 80-meter beam, the 80-meter dipole up there. It was about 110 feet long, rotatable, and then underneath that was a 3-high stack of 45-foot 6-element 15-meter beams. The only way I can tell is because I had the boom guy set up that way. And there's the 80-meter beam. We were up on the side of a hill there. We had about a 600-foot drop off towards Europe, so it definitely worked really well there. And that's the 15-meter beams underneath it. The tower to the left, I think that was, we had a couple of 40s and a couple of 20-meter beams that were all rotating on tick ring rotor rotators. That's what that sort of dark thing underneath the beam is, tick rotors. You know who took these pictures? It was Ward Silver. He came up for a contest and walked all the way up that hill behind me. And I was blocked due south, which was not a big deal, but we still had a good shot at Japan and Europe. And my philosophy and my contesting when I was up there in Baker was always to be loud into Europe. So that was the top 40-meter beam up there with the 20 underneath it and the 80-meter beam in the background. And then we had, that was a separate Europe stack that was fixed. Those are two 4-element KLMs or M squared, I can't remember. There was 2 40s there, and then we had 4 5-element 20s starting at 200 feet every 50 feet, from 50, 100, 150, and 200 feet there pointed at Europe. That was the what we call the Europe stack antenna. And those were the 5-element on 50-foot booms that Mike Stahl designed. That was what we called our rotating stack or our mult antennas. We had antennas farther down to the right from that view that were fixed on. We had 2 towers about 400 feet to the right that were fixed on Japan. I had stacks 10, 15, 20, and 40 there. And then these were just the rotating antennas that we used for working mults. Yeah, that was again the mult. That's the mult stack, and then I think those are the little antennas in the middle were 2 7-element 45-foot boom 10-meter beams from M squared. They were on what we call swinging arms on the side. You had the rotator with the arm sticking out, and you could rotate about 300 degrees. So you always just took out due south so that they could run about 300 degrees. And again, that's the Europe stack I was talking about. Top antenna was about 200 feet and every 50 feet down. And it worked extremely well into Europe because we were so blessed there. We had nobody out in front of us, so we had no noise. It was just dead quiet. Nothing that was bothering us.
And you give up that to move to where all the noise is at? There.
What's that?
And you gave up all that quiet to move to Florida?
Well, the wife loves it down here, so we ended up moving down. Our youngest son is an anesthetist down here, and so we wanted to be closer to him. And so this is with the 2 antennas I had down about 400 feet away from the place, fixed on Japan. So at 10, 15, and 20 there, and then a lot of times we had a three-way switch. So the two big 20s, those are 6-element KLM 20-meter beams on 60-foot booms. Those 2 antennas on the left, and then we used a 204BA 20-meter beam on the right there, where it showed 4 in the Caribbean. So when we ran Japan, we always had, because those 6-element beams had so much front to back, about 35 dB. You know, the guys back on the East Coast or in the Southeast didn't even know we were on frequency. And so what I ended up doing was putting a 3-way switch in there, and so I could run all 3 at once. So the 2 were working Japan, and the bottom, the 4 on Caribbean, that's 4 elements. We use that for 2 reasons. One, to work any multipliers in South America and the Caribbean, but also to keep the rest of the U.S. off our frequency. And so it was just loud enough that people knew we were there. That's the 3-element 80-meter beam up at 190 feet. And I think those are the two rotating 15-meter beams. We used to have 20 up there. We found that the 80-meter beam just really screwed up the 20-meter beam, so we took them off and moved them and put the 15s there. And that was, anybody understand what an echelon stack is? It's like if you have 4 antennas stacked on top of each other. Again, I don't know our audience and what they know about radio, but you know, when you take a single beam and you add a second one, you pretty much double the receive and transmit power. And so to do it again, you have to go from 2 to 4. And there are instances, which was here with these antennas, that we had to take the top 2 and put them on a separate tower about 50 feet away, what we call an echelon stack, which gave us the same amount of output power, but it narrowed the bandwidth from the sides in. Besides, because when you get gain from a Yagi is just like a flashlight that has a slide on it where you pull it back and it gets real wide, or you push it out and it gets real narrow. Well, the longer the Yagi, the narrower the beam width. And so when you put an echelon to get a gain from the stack, it takes the radiation from the top and the bottom and brings it up and narrows that beam taken off. And when you put an echelon stack, it brings it in from the side. So it's pretty much really pinpointed on Japan. The 50-meter beams, they, again, worked extremely well. And there's the 2 7-element tins I was talking about that were rotatable.
Look at it.
Wow, I'm impressed that you found that.
Well, this one right here, I didn't realize that there was this large of a hill right next to you.
Yeah, it was due south of us. So like I said, we were flying from, just north of 270, probably, you know, we had no problem working Japan all the way around to deep southeast, you know, so we got into the Caribbean, South America, and it was just a special place I found, and it just, the topography just fit perfect. And this was the second place I built my station. This was not my big ranch. Yeah, we only had 7 towers here.
Here's some of your QSL cards.
Yeah, that was my first call, WA6PVA, when I first got my license.
I know I have one of these on my wall.
Uh-oh. And then Wayne made a whole bunch of later QSL cards over here to the right, and then up somewhere else there's another picture of me on there that Wayne, you remember you made all those to go for when we worked at Dayton in the booth with you.
Oh, that's right. Yep. The other one was
there. That's it right there on the right. The Oregon NK7U, and this one here also. I think you made those the second time we went to Dayton with you.
This is on a JA site.
On the JA site?
Yeah, this is.
They are baseball fans.
Yeah, this is the one I made for you. Yep.
Yeah, you see Wayne listed at the bottom there? There he is. You drank the Kool-Aid, Wayne, and went to VHF stuff, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm 10 gigahertz and above, and you know, lately I've been trying to get on the Oscar satellites, so building antennas. Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. What has changed over the years in terms of contesting? I think for sure the scores have gotten way bigger because I can remember when the DX contests, when you were probably effective with maybe, you know, 2 elements on 40 meters. Now people are having, you know, Yagis on 80 meters and even the lower band. So what have you seen? Have you been contesting for a long time? What are the changes that you've seen, and what do you attribute those changes to?
I think you got to start with the computers. You know, I mean, now you got all these logging programs. You know, the multi-ops, they can run the spotting network. So you got, you know, if you're running multi-op, you've got 2 guys per band, and 1 guy's just working mults or new stations that pop up. And the whole computerized part of that stuff has increased so greatly. I think the second part of it is, back in our day, I remember Mike NI7T, he was telecommunications chief for the Willamette Whitman National Force up there. And he was the guy back then. We had to build all of our own boxes, for building, for stacking and, doing all that kind of stuff. Building all of our switch boxes for the receiver array, getting all those in there and being able to share those between 2 or 3 radios. He built all of those boxes back in the late 70s and the 80s. And now you can buy all that stuff off the shelf. It's all available. So, anybody, no matter how much how technical they are, they don't have to be, because they can buy it all. You don't have to build it anymore or have somebody on your team to build it for you. So when you start looking at the amount of knowledge that was out there, I remember when I first started, I first got into radio, I was still playing ball. I used to carry the stuff on the road with me. But, when the National Contest Journal first came out, Mike and I would devour every issue. They were talking about stacking and the learning about the length of the boom and how far you had to, depending on how big the antenna was, how long the boom was, how far apart your antennas had to be to get the ultimate, because they always talked about stacking and your aperture of your antenna taking off like a TV, looking at a TV where you got two different apertures. If they're too far apart, you got a hole in there. If they're too close, they overlap and you lose gain. So you're trying to optimize the exact spacing on your beams. So all of that now is all computerized. I mean, it's unreal, the stuff that, YO came out, and now they've got tons of programs out there that tell you, exactly spacing. Dean Straw from when he was working for ARRL wrote that book, All the Right Angles or something like that. I've got the books here, and it tells you, for the West Coast, Central US, East Coast, tells you, the average of arrival angles from anywhere in the world to your spot. And that helps you determine how high you want to put your antennas, depending where you're trying to work, Japan, Europe, or where, Australia, wherever you're pointing, how high to put your antennas. So it's just grown by leaps and bounds. And that's a great thing about ham radio. Guys share, and somebody didn't discover all this and kept it in a locked safe somewhere. He shared it with everybody, and it's just to greatly improve the whole hobby. And of course, the radios, as you know, from where they were back in the 70s and 80s up to today, that's why I've gone to the K3. I mean, when I was on, I think after the 950s, after you left, I ended up with some Yaesus Mark V's, and I like 160 contests. I love those contests. I'm down there in CW trying to run, and I've got stations coming up right next to me, and I'm whining because they're getting too close. So I didn't realize those guys were running radios where you could actually have 4 QSOs per KC. And George W2VJN, who wrote tons of books, built a lot of the filters for the radios and all that stuff. And I finally was whining to him, and he said, "Hey, you got to change radios." He said, "These guys are using radios today that are much more modern. They're much narrower on the receive side." And so that's why I ended up going to the L-Crafts. And of course, now the 7610 and a lot of these brand new radios, the receivers are just incredible. And what you can hear and control the noise floor and everything else. So, it just keeps evolving. It's a wonderful hobby and helps DXers. And like I said, I've always liked working the new one too, but my whole career really in ham radio has been towards contesting.
Well, I sure appreciate you doing all the sharing you're doing with us tonight. This is good. It's good stuff. Even though it wasn't rehearsed, it's good. It's great. We couldn't have done better.
Well, that's a great thing about ham radio. It's no matter what level you have. I mean, I just never thought I'd ever get into it, but I started playing around an FT8, and I got a ball down here in Florida just running FT8 on my little, running 50 watts into a flagpole, and work in Japan, work in Europe. I mean, it's still mind blowing that thing can pull out of station, 20 dB below the noise floor that we can't hear. And so there's something for everybody in the hobby, no matter what you like doing. Slow scan TV, You name it, there's a place for you.
Anybody?
What got you started in contesting?
What's that?
What got you started in contesting?
Oh, well, I was interested in ham when I was a kid. I used to build the crystal radio sets and all that stuff, and then got into high school, and girls and baseball got in the way for a long time. And then when I was with the A's, we moved out to a place in Danville, California, which was just over the mountains from the hills from Oakland. We moved up to a place called San Damiano Retreat, which was a Franciscan brothers place where they had marriage encounters and all kinds of stuff. And 3 of the brothers and their maintenance guy were all hams. And they were all baseball nuts. They all got to be good friends. And so I started going over at night and sitting with the repair guy. He lived in a building quite a ways away from where the retreat house was. And started going down there, listening on the radio, and just really got interested in it. They gave me my first novice and technician license things. And, after back then we had to go to San Francisco to get my general up through my extra license. But the more I got into the radio and stuff, I started meeting more guys. A guy named Carl Cook, who unfortunately is a silent key now, he passed away, AI6 Victor. He used to go down to Papa 49 Victor, Papa 40 Victor. Anybody that's a contester would know him. And just a great guy. Anyway, he really got me going with the contesting bug. Fred, you got a finger up?
I do. When you were here in Boston, where'd you live?
Out in Lexington. That was the same year that Carlton Fisk went to the White Sox, and he was a good friend, and so we ended up renting his condominium out in Lexington, and so we lived there all during the season. Unfortunately, that was a year I was just coming back from tearing my Achilles, and then we had the strike year. That was a strike year. It was just a lost year, really. Unfortunate with the strike, it lost 2 months of the season.
That's an adjacent town to me. It's about 4 miles away.
Oh, is it? You're that close? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know Marty Soloway by chance?
Very well. He won 3 contests from this station in the year 2020.
I tell you, that kid is going to be a dynamo as he grows up. What's he, about 17, 18 years old?
He's a college freshman right now at Northeastern University in engineering. In fact, he's going to be here tomorrow afternoon. I'll tell him you remembered him.
Yeah, I met him last year down at the ZF1A. We went down to Grand Cayman and did the CQ Worldwide Sideband contest. Of course, we couldn't go this year because they don't let any outsiders in. Hopefully,
so he's going to be, he'll be operating that station remotely this coming weekend.
I'm still blown away that they were able to get, not being there and getting the guys down there and talking them through the remote. I think they got 2 or 3 stations down there remoted now in that place.
Yeah, Marty's become something of a specialist in figuring out how to remote things. My running joke with him now is, will NN1C-1 beat NN1C-2, or will it be NN1C-3 that wins the contest?
Right, he's crazy. Well, he and Bill K9, was it K9 and then something out in San Francisco? I don't know if you know Bill. K9 something, KKN or something like that. He operates out there in the with the N6RO station on the West Coast out there. He's another brilliant guy. He and Marty worked together to get that station remoted. And anyway, just some brilliant young kids coming along. That
he's also a good operator all by himself. He won the WAE from here on CW and the ARRL DX CW low power, #1 in the USA, and the WPX as well on CW from my station.
He's a really good kid.
He's a hot shot. And good to see you again, Joe.
Yeah, been a while.
Has been.
Got to get back. Hopefully, get Dayton back up and breathing again. It'd be fun to go back.
I shall go back, and it would be my privilege to buy you something frosty.
Oh, that'd be good. You know, Scotch, kills all the bad germs. So you got to make sure you have one nightly one to make sure you get rid of all the bad germs at night.
Get that right.
Now we know what your longevity is. You're going to be around forever.
Well, we're trying. We're trying.
Okay, a couple of more questions. Were there any other ball players that you knew as hams?
Not that really stayed active. Ron Sabota from the old Mets. I heard that he had gotten a, oh boy, I don't think he got above technician. And then there was another guy from down in the Caribbean somewhere, Manny Mota. That brings back, we're talking way back, that he had a call sign at one time, but I don't think he was active either. There's just not a lot of time for guys to get into the radio stuff. Like you said, I just happened to meet the right people at the right time and got me going. Yeah, because I got my license. I played another almost 10 years after I got my license. I used to take it and operate out of my room. I took a couple of Hustler, antennas and made a dipole out of them and carried those. I had a little suitcase. I had that and a tripod and put those up against the window. I used to get the highest floor in a hotel I could get and couldn't wait to get back after the games to get it back on the radio at night.
How many feeds of coax did you have coming into your shack in Oregon with all those?
I hate to even think about it. We had a lot of runs that were 400 and 500 feet plus long out to the far towers. We had thousands and thousands of feet. I don't even know, 15, 20,000 feet of control cables. I just took down my 80-meter Foursquare at the last station. I had 20,000 feet of ground radios under that. And that's another dynamo antennas, Foursquares. If you want to build antennas that work great and don't have to climb towers, man, those Foursquares really work. They're very directional, very quiet. And if you got the room to put them up, they're pretty easy. And it's nice to work from the ground when you get older.
Okay. Do you have any advice for someone that's just getting started in contesting?
The biggest thing is trying to find Elmers. I was so blessed to have guys. I had another guy that was really super instrumental on the early part of my career was a guy named Orv Owen, Whiskey Sugar Bravo Sierra Lima, big, sweet, and level. That's what he called himself. And he was brilliant EE. I can't remember the firm he worked for, but he was attached to the Navy Department designing guidance systems of the rockets came out of the subs down in Southern California there when I was with the Angels. And I met him originally up in when he was with in the Bay Area when I first got my license. But that's where I think we lose so many young hams that are guys, not necessarily even young, but people get their license. They get the bug a little bit to get their license, and then our clubs aren't quite as active as they used to be, and they don't have the Elmer to come along and help them to put up antennas, how to build coax, how to put a connector on it, on and on and on. I've had a couple of people that I've tried to help and stuff. One is, again, Ward Silver's book, Ham Radio for Dummies. It's a great book. It goes through every, element of ham radio. And so I've given that out to a lot of young hams just to help them understand what ham radio is about. And, when I first got into AWL, of course, had the early books that were, you could read just to start learning what things were. And I spent a lot of hours on telephones talking to older hams that I fortunately got to meet and just asking them questions on everything. It's none of us, we all started at ground zero, every one of us at one point in time.
It's hard to find people with the enthusiasm that you and many other people that I remember when I got into amateur radio. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time. You're really focused, especially when you're working and you're married and all this other stuff. And it takes a lot to drive a person that direction. And I don't see a lot of that anymore.
Well, it's just spread out. I mean, there's so many diversions. I think that was probably when what they call the heyday of ham radio in the 50s and the 60s, when things started growing and conditions were incredible in the late 50s. Sunspot hot, talking to people that were around back then, making contacts on 6 meters and 10 meters all over the world. But I think, it is harder. The kids today, why they want to get on the radio where they can just take their phone and text and talk to anybody anywhere anymore. So it is, it's hard getting the word out. I mean, I think you just got to keep working in that direction. I've always had I think it's important trying to get the youth in there, but I think like the AWRL, I would like to see them spend more time focusing on people in early retirement, guys getting up in their 60s that are thinking about retiring and looking for another hobby, trying to introduce those people into ham radio and bring them in that have the money, the time, and everything else to get in the radios. And like I said, I haven't been active around any ham clubs for quite a while. I know here in the villages, they have a very active ham club here, about 250 members plus. And they do a lot of activities here. Of course, I just moved in here and the pandemic hit. So everything's been, just over telephone or talking to guys from a distance. But I think it is critical back, that's where the clubs serve such a great purpose back when we had a lot more activity from them.
Wayne, I want to go to you for a second. When he introduced you earlier, you started looking more and more familiar. Where did you retire from?
I'm actually not retired, but I'm still working. Probably have another 10 years at least to go. But I met Joe. Joe was when I was with Kenwood. I was a sales manager there back in the TS 940 days. So that was radio, right? So
Interesting. So what are you doing now?
I work for a company called Skyworks Solutions Incorporated. We make RF semiconductors. We enable all the 5G and 6G stuff that's out there for us to be online and wireless.
Okay. You have an exciting career.
I talk about that, and at QSO Today Expo, I'll be talking, I'll be a moderator for a panel discussion. We're going to talk about getting kids interested in ham radio. I've got Dale Dougherty, who's the co-founder of Maker Fair, is one of the speakers, and Melissa, who's the Carol Perry Teacher of the Year from 2020, and another Maker Ham Radio, whose call escapes me right now, but he is one of his jobs is licensed fire effects operator to represent both makers and ham. So it'll be kind of an interesting presentation. It's a discussion. We're not going to focus on the trouble or the issues that, of getting young kids in ham radio. That has been an old topic talked about, for decades, but we're going to talk more about and focus more on what we're actually doing today, right now, this year, and so on, in terms of getting kids interested in it. And my angle has always been education, right? Ham radio has such an amazing impact on my career and my college choices, and so and it still impacts me today. So. But yeah, one of the side benefits, getting to know a guy like Joe in NK7U.
It's always there's one thing about this Zoom thing, since I started about a year or so ago, and some of our attendance has been up to over 500 people, and you get to see people, meet people on this during a pandemic that you might have to go to a national convention, and even then it's a short-term thing. It's really opened up some other doors here. For meeting people, sharing things like Joe is sharing with us tonight, and you're sharing. It's a great experience. I look forward to your presentation.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, having stuff online, you know, all of the radio clubs all over, actually all over, are experiencing the same thing. When we put up stuff on the internet, we're now open not only to our local, you know, local groups, it's international, right? The only thing that might keep us from joining is a time zone difference.
That be true. That be true. Our sessions here that start off about 9, 10 o'clock in Puerto Rico time. And those poor guys have to put toothpicks under their lids to stay with us. And also with the Virgin Islands, the same thing. Are there any more questions out there? We've got the chat box is full of stuff. What we'll do is we're taping this and taping it. Those days are gone by, but we're filming this, if you will. There we go with another old term. But at any rate, and put a link out for everybody to be able to watch it again, and the chat, so you get the links off these things. And is there any more comments or questions?
You know, this is Bruce. I'm down here in the Virgin Islands, and I just been signing in maybe the last month or so when I found out about this Rat Pack deal. And I'm a retread. I started at 12. I think I had my novice license at 13. And I was real active until I graduated high school. And I always said when I retire, I'm going to get back in it. And that's what I'm doing now. And it's like I never did it before. I just can't believe the advances that's been made. But listen to you folks talking about the old days and stuff. When I was 12, my Elmer was also that really took care of me at the time. You know, it was a rough time in my life, and he taught me a lot of stuff. Got me I had my general class at 15, and I could use his equipment. The only deal was I had to climb that 70-foot tower when something needed to be fixed, and if something broke, I had to pay 50% of the fixing fees. So I mean, he taught me a lot. WA1AUR up in Massachusetts. We lived in Hingham, Massachusetts, and yeah. So I'm looking forward to these. Like I say, I don't understand a lot of things that you're all discussed, but the more I hear it, and I write a few things down. Right now, I'm just on the 2-meter rig. We've got a Yaesu FT60, and thinking of moving up to Oregon, of all places, outside of Portland, if I can pull that off. So hopefully I'll have enough space. I can put up some antennas up there. I don't know if they'll be as big as Joe's, but have a little bit better setup than I have here. But nice to meet everybody on here. Hope to be a regular as often as I can. So anyway, standing by.
Very good.
There's a real good ham club there called Willamette Valley DX Club that's very, very active. And a lot of guys in that area that are be glad to help you. They actually, K7 Zulu Sierra runs a 10-meter novice type net every Monday night. He gets on and they've got probably close to 100 guys sometimes to check in, and they just talk about all kinds of things they need help with or ideas to go from A to B and all that kind of stuff. So it's called Willamette, which is the valley there, Willamette Valley DX Club. And there's no shortage of hams in that area with the tech groups that are up in that Portland area. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry I stepped on you.
No, you did not. You're doing fine. I appreciate you doing that. Are there anybody else here got any questions or whatever? Comments?
Dan, if I could just add something.
Sure, go ahead.
I brought something up with Anthony at the state QSO party workshop he had online. I guess it was a few weeks ago, Anthony. And what I'm going to do for the Virginia QSO party, and I challenge any one of you who loves CW, including our guest, that with your QSO party, I'm going to go up and do QRS for those who have not developed their skills yet, but want to get in on the fun of contesting. Because I'll be honest with you, I can get 25 words maybe 30 if I'm on a good day. But some of these guys and gals aren't there yet. And they should get some points. They should be able to earn some points too. And they just can't keep up with them. I mean, sometimes I have to listen twice to really get, and really it's not hard. Once you get the basic information down, you just put it in the log, and then if you can just get it and call them back, that's great. But some of them don't have that opportunity. And I just have an attic antenna, and I won barefoot. But I'm going to do it on the 20th and 21st. And I challenge any of you CW lovers to spend a couple hours on your QSO party and do that. Go up QRS for these people. That may encourage more to do it and be involved.
I might comment that QRS means slow. If you somebody sends you QRS, it wants you to slow down. And he's talking about slowing down. And a lot of CW operators, I'm one of them, although I have been that active for a while, right next to their speed key or fog paddles, wherever they're running, they'll have a straight key, and they can jump back and forth and slow right down when they need to or do what they want. And it's a tremendous experience. I thank you very much, Ed. That's a great invite. I hope that people take you up on that.
That's, you know, and those state QSO parties are a great way for young guys to get into contesting. Just operate in those things, and you know, there are a lot less pressure, a lot less, you know, speed there, and you know, any CW op, I get the same frustration as these guys that are running 35, 40 words a minute, and they'll call CQ for 5 minutes, never get an answer. You know, if I don't get an answer after 3 or 4 Qs, I start going down. You know, I'll go 35, 33, 32, 25, all the way to 20 if I'm not getting anybody coming back, because obviously there's a whole lot of people out there listening that can't copy that fast. And you know, you do have to adjust. Unfortunately, we do have a few people that get the ego thing and show everybody they can run 45, 50 words a minute, which, you know, whatever, it works for everybody.
My experience has been a lot of those guys with the egos can hit the key like that, but they can't copy like that. It's just how it seems to work out when they start hitting those higher speeds. I ran into that a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, that's a great suggestion, getting into the QSO parties. They just a lot less pressure, and it's a really good place for young hams to get more knowledge in contesting.
Next week, the program's going to be on contest logging. So for you newbies that are just getting started with contesting, we're going to be doing that next Wednesday.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Joe, if you want to, I'll put you on a list here to make sure you get the invites and such if you want to visit any of these things or join us on any of these conversations like this in our Zoom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was actually here. I just didn't know how to make it work. And I thought maybe you were going to call me. I wasn't quite sure. And then finally, I just pushed the link and showed up here, found you guys. So anyway, this is quite a new device here for getting a whole lot of people together to be able to talk when you're separated. I'm just looking here. Oscar's in KP4. Are you actually in Puerto Rico, Oscar?
Yes, I am actually in Puerto Rico, and I'm a DXer actually.
Sure, it's amazing. The breadth of how far people are. I saw somebody with a KL7 call somewhere here. Bruce, are you in? No, you're in Virginia.
No, that's the Virgin Islands, and I'm carrying an Alaska call sign. I wanted to get my extra, and I was going to change it at that time. But I lived in Alaska 34 years, and I've been down here 8 years on St. Thomas.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Super. We'll keep at it.
On some of these sections, it's been a while, granted, but some of them we've had people from other countries in here. Oscar, where was?
Well, David is here from Alaska.
Yeah, David is here from Alaska. We had him from Oscar. Who was the gentleman that for the Winlink thing?
Vera, he was from Spain, I think.
Yeah, Spain in here. We've had Japan in here. It just goes all over the place. It depends upon what the subject is and who's on board and who's interested in it. These things go out. A video of all these presentations go out to everybody afterwards. we ping about 1,000 hams afterwards, and of course they share it with their clubs and so forth. So it's been a pleasure, and I got a great team. I got a group of guys, a team, and you know what it's like to have a team. And you got a good one. It works well, and some of this team is on here tonight. You heard from some of them. It couldn't be done without them. Okay, Rhea, are you still on here?
Is she still on?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had to stop my camera for a minute. What's going on?
Okay, no problem. I just wondered if you want anything before we close out of here. You got anything to add or talk about?
Not really. I mean, you know, there are a few things that were passed along in chat. QSO today's coming up. There's the Virginia Wireless Association in April that I'm going to be taking part in on a panel discussion about Vienna Wireless Society's Virtual Ham Fest on April 24th. We'll be on the round table, including one dealing with the future of ham radio. So check them out, viennawireless.net. Of course, I will be at QSO today. And, you know, like I said, I'm everywhere. So, you know, look for a convention near you. I didn't say that. There was other people saying that.
Does the novice roundup still exist?
I believe there is a rookie roundup. It's not
Rookie
the novice roundup. Yeah, it does exist. Yes.
Okay.
There's 3 rookie roundups for each of the 3 modes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a question about that in the chat. So yes, there is a rookie roundup, and it's looking for people to participate. And it's not quite as fast, and it's a lot of fun.
There's also a CW slower speed contest every Sunday by the K1USN group. It's at 0 Zulu, so it's actually Sunday morning. It's actually Monday morning, but 0 Zulu at usually on 20 and 40, and sometimes 80, depending on what the band conditions are. It's 1 hour long, so it's a sprint.
Is that a max of 20 and lower?
It tends to be that. It tends to be between about maybe 15, probably about the average, about 13 to 15 is what most people run. It's your name and your state is the exchange.
We got to get that word out more. That's a great practice for people trying to get into that.
Yeah, they started it in October, I think it was, and they've been running it now for about 4 months.
Anthony, I think 0 Zulu is 7 p.m. Eastern.
Eastern, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good news. That's good. I think I saw that somewhere in the past, but I never really followed that. So they're still doing it. That's great. That's super. Hey, Barry, where are you at in South Florida?
I'm in Delray Beach.
Delray Beach. Okay. Yeah, we're in the Villages here.
Yeah, I know where you are.
Yeah. I saw somebody from California here a minute ago. Maybe he left. Where'd he go? Somebody had California there by their name. So I grew up in Central California, way back, and got out of there as quick as I could.
Oh, I'm in Central California.
Where you at?
John NZ6Q, Stockton.
Oh, you're in Stockton?
Yeah.
Where are you? I'm looking for you.
Let's see.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, I think I'm still here.
I got too many things I'm trying to find. Yeah, I grew up outside Modesto.
Oh, there you go.
Went to high school in Modesto. And I signed right out of high school. Actually, haven't been back since '64. But
Which high school?
What's that?
Which high school?
Downey High School in Modesto.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that you, John? Is that?
Yeah, NZ6Q.
Yeah, I found it over there. Yeah, it's never an easy place to put towers up.
No, especially my place. I had to become president of the HOA in order to get towers to put up. I still don't have a lot of room for more than one.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you can't, they won't let you do it. You got to get inside and start redo it.
Okay. Are there any more comments? What I'm going to do.
Bruce had a
Dan,
hand.
one more comment, Dan.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the slides are on the way to your inbox, so expect them in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate
Bruce,
that.
Bruce, did you have your hand up? I guess not. Probably saying goodbye.
Okay, this has been a different type of a presentation than we normally have, but it's been great. I really appreciate Joe coming on. It's been wonderful. I'm fortunate enough that I know Joe when he was over here in Baker and had the wonderful experience of being around him and seeing the good stuff he does. I'm sad that he moved to Florida, but what the heck. I understand that too. It gets cold over here.
Yeah, we'll be back up. We always go back in the summer. You know, our oldest son, the family, the grandkids are still there, so we'll be back by June.
Okay.
You know, we still have the motorhome, so we'll head out of here probably in late May.
Okay, we'll have to see if we can rendezvous, have an eyeball.
Yeah, no, I try to get over to see Rod and the guys there in Boise, so we're over there quite often. Scott still, you know Scott Tudhill, K7U, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott will be back up there probably in May. He's down in Tucson now. So,
Yeah, I'm surprised some of them aren't on here. I know I sent an email to Rob and some of the others, and I thought they'd be on here tonight. Unfortunately, they weren't. But they'll get to see the movie.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, well, great. Thanks for having me on there. Sorry, I didn't quite understand doing it. I'm not sure how to even do a presentation. I sure wouldn't know how to do one. What did you call it? The slide thing?
Oh, the presentation thing? Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah. PowerPoints.
PowerPoint? Way past my pay grade. I can climb towers. I know nothing about inside stuff.
After I shut the meetings down, I leave the sessions open. So if you want to check back in, just like you come in this last time, a lot of these guys will come back in just a chit chat, like after a club meeting. So feel free to do that. And this will probably stay open for most of the day or night for us here. So if there's nobody on there, play with it and learn a little bit about it there. Okay.
Thank everybody else for coming too.
Yes, very much so. Rhea, appreciate you again. She is everywhere. She's everywhere, and I'm glad she's here with us. All right.
Yeah, just if you guys want to learn CW, Long Island CW Club, they're in my division, and Jim, they're in Jim's section. So check them out.
There's people out there that are willing to teach you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to get Joe to come do a presentation for the LICW Club. Great training club. We even train kids. We got over 2,000, almost 2,000 members worldwide. It's really an outstanding club. It's
Wow.
look licw.org. I put it in the chat room. Take a look at it and see what you think, Joe.
Yeah, where do you live at now? Up in
I live on Long Island.
Long Island.
I'm a Yankee fan, so.
A Yankee. I grew up a huge Mickey Mantle fan growing up.
I tell you, I was a fan of yours, but except when you were in the Bronx, and then I wasn't a fan of yours.
Yeah.
Great ball player, Joe. You were a great ball player. And you're a great ham radio operator. I'm gonna have Howard send you an email. He's the president of the club, and maybe you can make a connection there.
Yeah, it's just simple. NK7U at NK7U.com.
Okay, I got
it. My call sign.
All right.
But yeah, this was fun. It's nice to meet new people, and like I said, the great thing about ham radio is such a wide breadth of interests. You know, just across the board, they're all great in their own way.
Well, we'll have to send you more invites, and if you see something you like, jump in and be with us. And if you just want to watch the video afterwards, there's a link to allow you to do that. That goes for anybody here. That's just how we operate. A lot of our stuff is shared on many, many different clubs now. Pandemic, a lot of clubs have gone online, and we give them the entertainment to look at, so to speak. All right, and I might also add, folks, I've known Joe for a lot of years, and I'm sure that Wayne and some of the others know him too. He is a heck of a guy. I mean, he's there to help you. If you ask him anything, he's right there. Don't ask him for a shirt because he'll take it off. He's a good guy. He's one of the best ones out there. Good, the best of the best.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to close this out unless somebody has any more.
Oh, this is Bruce again. If I could just ask if somebody's up using Echolink. I believe I got on to it last night. I did get my call sign validated. I know nothing about it, and I'm going to New Jersey on the 20th of this month. I'll be up there until the 17th of March. So I'd like to keep in touch with my, net down here and just call in every morning. So if somebody has some time, I'll stay on, and we'll catch you later. Great show tonight. Great presentation. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Okay, when I sign out, everybody's going to go flush. They're going to lose their connection. And what you do, if you want to come back again and help Bruce out or whatever, just chit chat, just log back in again. And you're welcome to use it. That's what it's for. 73s, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Hope to see you again.
73s.
Take care.